And we're back. All right, I want to have a profile on my tire. Don't want to make it too expensive, and that means too much rendering time or whatever. It just has to be quick and dirty. So I'm going to use a bump map. Now I'm just going to add a texture. It's pretty old, and it's called tiles. It's underneath surfaces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these tiles. This is the default pattern, squares, and I'm going to use sawtooth 1. Now you see red, gray, black. Let's make these two white because it doesn't really matter. The information that is used is not a color information, but actually it's the luminance information. Hang on. What did this one do? Nah, I have that white. Okay. So I got this sawtooth profile, and I can already tell in the preview it's pointing the wrong way. Hang on. I have to make it vertical, and it's way too huge of a gap. So I'm putting this down, the global scale, to 25%. Now, if I render it like this, you can tell that it covers the entire tire. Oh, that sounds funny. And it is a hole. So if I make this, for instance, make this -20, then it would actually be a bump. The only thing I'm going to do is actually pump up the grout width. That's actually the black lines. Make it a little bit coarser, and that doesn't do very much, but does this look better? Well, it looks a bit better. All right. But it goes across the entire tire. So I have to do something to the bump map that it only goes on top of the outside of the tire. The texture that I'm going to use for that is Fusion. Now, I'm just reminding you that tiles is already in there, and I'm asking for a Fusion, and oh, I lost my tiles. No, you didn't. Fusion is actually a combination of two textures. You can also use the layer texture. I prefer this one. I don't know, gives me a lot of control. And it actually asks for a base channel, which is the tiles that we just made, and a blend channel. Now this blend channel, I'm just going to paste a shader that happens to be the luminance map. And these two maps, I'm just going to multiply. And that means that this tire is going to be completely smooth, with the exception of the surface where I want to have that profile. Now, you won't see it in preview, but let me just render it. Here it is, and it looks fine for the purposes of making a quick render, so this is good. Now, I'm just going to skip over to the reflectance, and I want to have a more rubbery look. Now, a specular blend is actually sort of like a metal surface. What I want to do is make this highlight more spiked, and I'm just going to pump up the width so I get this huge specular highlight. Not too high, but still, this is washing out way too much. And I'm just going to put the fall off like this, so I get this little tiny pinpoint here. Don't pump up the specular strength because it's sort of like rubber. So this is actually pretty good. And I'm going to go over to the color channel and just make this into something that is like purpley brown color. Maybe more this sort of thing. This kind of looks like rubber. Well, I think so. So we got our textured tire. Now, the only thing we need to do is plop on a floor and put in some extra lights and some shadows and go through the render settings. And I'm going to do that in the final chapter, the final chapter.